It is the Bennington Show. I am Ron Bennington. Gail Bennington on maternity leave with her child. I was just thinking about this today, September 11th. 17 years. 17 years now. Pretty stunning. Earl Douglas was with me on 9/11. These were the people that were together the night that we went on the air in New York City at WNEW. Myself, Fez, Earl, Billy Staples, who somehow made it in, the only person to be on a train from Long Island to come into the city, and Gail Bennington, who had to go get at school and then couldn't get back to where we lived, so she hung out with us that whole night.
Yeah, that was a long day because it took me all day just to get in. Like, nothing was running.
Get in from Queens, yes.
Yeah, in from Queens. There was no subways running.
Yeah, I know. I was on the phones with you and Fez, and we didn't know whether either one of you would be able to make it in that night. Oh, and the other producer walked in from Queens.
That Hawk?
The Hawk walked in from Queens. I forgot all about that. Yeah, he walked over the bridge as everybody's coming in the opposite direction. Who would have thought, Earl, 17 years later, this country still wouldn't have had it figured out? We could not be more divided. We could not be less together to know what direction we want to take this country in, and everybody's blaming each other. I have to say, I find it very, very depressing. I find these to be really, really depressing times, and I'm willing to say this. I'm pretty sure our generation blew it. You know what I mean? When you see that this stuff is still going down 17 years after the fact, imagine 17 years after Pearl Harbor. Right? And they're like, well, there's still fighting going on. We haven't worked out. And it's really stunningly embarrassing. And I don't know where exactly to put the blame other than just say everybody.
I just think it was more because I don't think we ever got over the anger phase. You know what I mean? There was a lot of anger. Because how could this happen? How could this go on? This, that, and the other. And I don't think we've ever really shook it off, as opposed to, you know what? Instead of taking what was happening where people really came together in terms of like relief efforts as far as...
Yes, when the emergency itself happened, people absolutely pulled together and were like, well, this is going to be the new us. This is who we're going to be. And I see us being, I would go back to saying the old us, but even worse. I have no idea how to, I have no idea how to fix it. Neither does anyone else. So I'll put it out there. 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. A little bit of old style talk radio. What the hell does this country have to do to start moving forward a little bit? What the hell is wrong with us? Every single day is a fight. Every single day. I was talking the other night with Colin Quinn, and he quite seriously thinks we just got to break the country up. It just doesn't work as one big country, and that we all need to go in different things. And he's taking it to ancient Greece where he's saying city-states. He's not even saying it divided up 4 ways. He's saying divided up 75 to 100 different ways. But I feel like we would just have 75 to 100 different fights.
I just think it's more of I think it comes back to dialogue, having a real and honest dialogue.
When's the last time we had one? When's the last time? Like, for instance, this Kaepernick thing, right? We have never once sat down and discussed, like, truly and calmly and comfortably discuss the thing between the way these athletes feel, the way the black community feels, and the way cops feel. It just doesn't have. I've never seen one, and we have endless amounts of cable news, and I've never seen them give an hour to having some people sit down and discuss it on any of them.
It was I always reference the Baldwin Buckley debate. Oh, that was on television. It was on, I believe, Boston television.
And what year was that?
I think it was 68. I think 68.
It's the last times I think that we've had actual intellectuals involved in politics. It goes back that far before people would do that. And if that would have worked, we might have even gotten somewhere there. But I just don't see us going in that direction anymore. Hey, Doug in Colorado, what's up, buddy?
Well, I've just, the perspective I have is I don't have any faith that we're going to get together and ever sort anything out. Because, look at the Middle East. In your lifetime, do you ever recall a time when there has been peace?
Well, not even just in my lifetime, but you can go all the way back before Christ. There's been no time that the Middle East hasn't been clusterfucky.
And so we're just getting started as a country.
Yeah.
Literally. We are very, very young. And I don't understand why everybody thinks we're all of a sudden going to start getting along.
Well, I think it isn't even so much getting along in terms of liking each other, but we'd all have to admit, if we don't learn to work together better, this country's not going to go on. Maybe even this planet won't go on. But after 9/11, I mean, what? I'll just ask this: that feeling that Earl was bringing up about after 9/11 and people were pulling together and people were helping each other, is that just fake? Is that just make believe? Is that just the Christmas spirit? When people act like they're nice people for that week before everyone goes back to being assholes.
I think
there's some perspective from somebody who was not there.
Yeah.
You guys were in New York, and from outside of the country, I didn't have a feeling like the band together and we're gonna save everybody and we're all gonna work together and this will be great. I think that feeling was pretty pervasive, in New York and most of, the eastern states. But in the West, awful thing that happened. And yes, let's fix this. But it didn't change anybody's life here drastically. Everybody got up the next day and went to work. They stayed at work that day. Things continued as they were. So there wasn't, as you referred, that Christmas spirit. It wasn't.
I don't know, because I can remember and it might not have been you, and I don't doubt with what you're saying, but I remember so many cities, so many states sending people here, and that they were all just absolutely wonderful when they came into town.
I remember all the various fire departments across the country. And I think Canada sent their own fire department.
Well, don't be shocked that Canada's nice, Earl. We're used to that. We're very, very used to that. Steve in New Orleans. Steve.
Hey, good afternoon, you guys.
Hey,
actually, Colin Quinn stole my thought there. I'm sure he had it first, though. I think we're just too big to govern. We just got too many differences. I mean, down here, I'm from New Orleans. We really got nothing in common with people on the East, or Louisiana itself. Got nothing in common with people up there on the East Coast or on the left coast there. It's a divide that's so huge. I don't see how it could ever be bridged. Even like you said, that national tragedy 17 years ago brought us together for a few weeks. But then, and another thing is, I think, is this damn 24-hour news cycle and social media and Twitter and just the fact that people just anonymously motherfucker each other left and right without consequence is all.
I will say this. I know the comment section to any story on the news is like everything that we're talking about. So I don't care where you go, whether it's Newsweek, Mediaite, Breitbart, Fox News, anybody that leaves a comment section, it's fucking hideous. The shit that people say to each other. 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. Scott in Oklahoma.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
I think it's kind of more made up than on social media platforms or pushed through the news than it actually is in everyday life. I mean, you look back the way when you were growing up, there's different blocks that you could or couldn't be on. Now you look at New York, it's a lot more integrated. You look at all over the whole United States, everyone's working together. It's black, Mexican, white, it doesn't matter. The trucking industry has a huge plethora of immigrants that came over from Russia and Ukraine and all over the place. Everyone's just working together. I don't see such a big massive problem as the media and social media is trying to make it.
Well, what do you think when you're hearing about, stiffer borders and immigrants are the problem and all that? You think that's just totally made up stuff?
No, I don't think that it's made up, that there's a problem with a lot too many illegal immigrants in. I'm not stating that fact. I'm saying the race relations, I don't think are as bad as everyone makes it out to be. Or not everyone, as social media or the news is making it out to be. They feed off of that crap, So, I mean, you just look at your relationships with people that you see every day on the street. They used to be that way. It's not that way anymore. Nobody cares. They just want to do their own thing, their own money. Leave me alone. That's what everyone's doing. If you're your neighbor, they help. I live in a small little podunk town in Wisconsin, and it doesn't matter what color you are, except that nobody puts nobody down. Nobody's getting put down because of it. I'm just confused. We have a huge influx of Mexican immigrants that come throughout the whole summer, work on the farms. They don't have any issues. They come around, everyone interacts, it's fine. Nobody's getting beat up. Nobody's getting life threatened. Life is bad. I think everyone's making it out to be more than what it is.
All right, thanks for calling, Scott.
Darn good right now.
Thank you, buddy. 844 Rock God. 844 Rock God. All right, Earl, good news. Everything's great.
I don't think the race relations thing is solved by no stretch of the imagination. You saw what happened when we elected a black president. All of those things just kind of bubbled to the surface. I think people internalize it, and now people feel this need to externalize it, whether they want to or not. And I just totally disagree with that statement that race relations are better. I think they're probably as fragile now as they were in the 50s and 60s.
Do you honestly think that things, race-wise, are not better off now than when the civil rights marches were going on? You don't think it's better when Martin Luther King was getting fire hoses turned on him?
Yeah, but people, we're getting black people getting shot. The story now, the guy got shot in his own apartment by a cop, thinking it was, a case of mistaken apartments. People are getting, we're seeing all these videos of abuse, straight up abuse. So how can we say that, things are changed when the law enforcement perception hasn't? It really hasn't.
Let's go over here to Wendy. Wendy, you're on the Bennington Show.
Hi there.
Hey.
So I was just listening to what you were saying about this country being very young. I think it's time we looked at the Constitution. It's like sort of when I was 18, I loved drugs and rock and roll, but now I'm 50. But it's like living that I'm 18 years old. We've got to start looking at changing that, about the right to bear arms and everything.
So you think that the whole entire idea of the Constitution needs to be kind of thrown out and a whole new fresh set of ideas?
Yes, for this generation, for this day and age.
I will tell you this. There's not a single corporation in the world that would let some kind of papers that were written years and years before have them plan their daily day around it. So, in other words, it's not like Walt Disney. People would go, oh, well, Walt Disney never would let alcohol into the things, or Walt Disney wouldn't have built another park. He's already built his parks. Everything seems to move along. But this Constitution that was done what are we, almost 250? About 240?
They didn't have cars. They didn't have iPhones. They didn't have the internet.
So you would like to see those things written in, like iPhones, internet. I don't blame you.
No,
yeah.
No, I don't mean that.
Here's where we're at, though. Back then, you just had those certain dudes get together in Philadelphia, and they hammered it out. Now, all you would have is constant opinions from millions and hundreds of millions of people.
True, but the fact that we're living with this gun law that came from 1776, where you had to have a gun because you needed to protect your family, and now it's a right that was given to us 2,500 years ago or whatever, 250 years ago, and we're living by that. So what if we lived by something that was done in the 60s or the 70s?
Right.
So we keep upgrading. We need to upgrade that, and that would help us with our country.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. I just can imagine the lawsuits because everybody would act like this thing would be literally unconstitutional. But I do. I see it the same way. I think we've got this anchor around our necks.
Yes, it is. It's an anchor that is tying us down and not letting us to go forward. Like we could put something about saving the country, saving the world, electric cars, just going to the future. Not something that was put in place in the past. It doesn't work anymore.
Thank you so much, Wendy. 844 Rock God. 844 Rock God. I'm just trying to think who would be the guys that would turn around and put together this new constitution. I don't know whether we have that many people that were like, oh yeah, there's our intellectuals. There's the people that could see far into the future.
They look down on smart guys now. So the idea of like, hey, we're going to put the best and the brightest of our lawmakers and really just best minds in general.
It's all about feeling, Earl. You have to have a good feeling. You have to have a gut feeling. That's what it is. You don't want to ponder. That's for an egghead. Here is Aaron. Aaron in San Antonio.
Hey, guys. I just wanted to remind y'all that not all is lost. There's still a lot of really good things that happen. And I just want to refer to last year when Harvey hit over here in the Texas area. Immediately, everyone all around the state pulled together and took care of each other before the government even had a chance to kick in. We got a lot of help from our neighboring states, and just a lot of really good people doing really good stuff. So not all is lost. It's not as bad as it might seem.
And I would agree with that, but we didn't pull that way together for Puerto Rico. And I think that's a big thing that this and I will also sit around and say I didn't see any of the progressive news, cable news shows and channels paying attention to it either. I think the future may bite us in the ass for the way we treated Puerto Rico over the last year. Here's Ken in Westchester. What's up, Ken?
Ronnie, what's going on, buddy?
Hey.
Hey, so I just turned on the channel, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be ignorant or anything, but I heard someone talking about, a cop walking into an apartment and shooting somebody, even though he was in his home.
All right, hold on. This was Earl. Earl, this gentleman is bringing up to you about you saying a cop went in and shot somebody in their home.
Earl, what's going on, man?
Yo.
Hey, I just, I hear a lot of bad things, especially in 2018 about cops. And granted, there are some that are poorly trained, and there are a lot of mistakes that go on. And obviously, there's some bad cops, but I think they're fairly outweighed by the good cops that are out there. And, especially with some of the misinformation you guys get from the...
Are you gone, Ken?
Say that again?
It sounded like your phone dropped out there for a second. Earl, what is the specific situation you were bringing up? I don't know it.
A cop who got off her shift, she walked into the wrong apartment, and she thought it was an intruder in her apartment, and she shot him. Now, she's disputing that the door was open. They have eyewitnesses that said the door was locked, and she forced her way in.
So she thought she was in her apartment?
Yeah, it was an apartment building. She went to the wrong floor, She goes into the apartment. She sees a guy standing there, and he's probably like, "What are you doing in my place?" And she shot him.
Ken, are you familiar with this story?
Right. So I did read it the other day, and now from what I gather, and Earl, I don't know if maybe, you read it from a different source or whatever. From what I read, that had nothing to do with the cop. I read that it was a gun owner that had walked into the wrong apartment, saw someone.
Let's see if Chris has been looking this up while we're doing this, or just fucking around. So you're saying a person like Earl, he's getting a lot of half stories, or what?
So from what I gathered, like I said, I just turned on the channel and I read the story a few days ago, and from what I read, it had nothing to do with cops. It was a gun owner that walked into the wrong apartment, and
I think we might have two different. I think we might have two different news stories.
That happened twice recently?
Well, this one, Chris put up, Dallas police officer could face for killing unarmed neighbor. So it literally does say it's a police officer.
So, no, listen. So that might be a story, but I just got confused because the one I read had something to do with the gun owner walking into the wrong apartment and opening fire.
Yeah, I think we're on two different stories. But thanks.
Sorry, Ronnie.
Thanks for calling us, Ken. 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. I was bringing up the fact that here we are 17 years after 9/11, and who would have believed that the war would still be going on, that the country would be so divided? I would say more divided than we were in the year 2000. I mean, it seems like a daily fight. Down to the fact where fake news is something that people use every single day now. Impeachment is a term that comes up every single day. Let's go to our buddy Jay in Mississippi. Hey, Jay.
Ronnie B.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good, man.
Hey, man. Down here in Mississippi, it's a hell of a lot better than it was in 1967. And that's saying a lot. We care about all our brothers here on the West Coast and the East Coast. Put my flag out this morning, and I thought about it. I think that definitely social media and the news, we have more information now than we ever have, and I think that's a big part of it. But you take 1967 and 2018, excuse me, it's a world of difference down here. Love your show, buddy.
Thanks, pal. Peace. 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. Mark in Iowa. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Ron. I don't believe in this fallacy of the good cop. You take a look at every single one of these videos on the internet where a cop's doing something wrong. Most of them, they have a partner, and the partner is doing nothing. There is no good cop out there coming to stop the bad cop. You never see it.
So you and Earl, you're feeling the same way about that?
Not only that, but they're very slow to weed them out. They take forever, if at all, to weed out so-called bad cops. Mm-hmm. There seems to be more of a thing to defend them, and they're like, well, he wasn't all that bad.
Well, I mean, just look at our business. All right, just in the radio business. We all know Chris is a bad producer, but what do? We protect him. It's the thin radio line that we have here. We protect our own. We look out for our own. Let's go over here to Dan in Virginia. Dan.
Ronnie, $1,000,000. How you doing?
Thanks, man.
I think the problem is people, self-reflection breeds self-respect. As soon as people realize that as a whole, just the human race, we're all shitty people, then we can all come together. But everybody thinks their shit doesn't stink. Everybody thinks they're better than everybody else. Once you realize you're as much of a piece of shit as the guy next to you, as the guy that you're talking down to, then we can all come together and everybody can realize that everything is fucked. We're screwed either way. We're doing it ourselves.
I do.
We're all pieces of shit.
I will agree that we don't seem to be a very self-reflective people or a self-reflecting nation. Brian in Arizona. Hey, Brian, what's up?
Oh, hey, man. Hey, did you know that Donald Trump has been working on Middle East peace since the Carter administration? That's a fact. And but I've got a message for Earl.
The Carter administration.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Earl, I've got a message for you. And please listen to what I'm saying while not trying to think
real
of a
quick,
response.
Brian, real quick.
Okay, real quick.
A lot of people are on the phone.
The prison that you are in, you have imprisoned yourself. You were freed from that prison a long time ago. You can go out. You are a man just like anybody else. You're imprisoning yourself.
Earl, do you feel like you've imprisoned yourself?
You're in prison, huh?
You feel like you've imprisoned yourself,
I've
Earl?
imprisoned myself, but don't always hit me over the head with the fact that
You're not being hit over the head, Earl. You're not. You've never been.
Really?
You haven't been.
Brian, how do you feel? Brian, what makes you feel like you know anything about Earl or his background?
I've listened to the show for 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Earl, you are the warden in your own prison. Set yourself free. You can go.
Earl, go over the fence of yourself.
Bro, I've been profiled. I've been harassed.
That's just by me. What we're talking about is other people. Earl, your problem is right now, you don't know whether it's radio or Hard Rock, and I'm going to discuss this with your immediate supervisor, Hard Rock Johnny. Johnny?
Bennington's.
First of all, you are by far rooting for the second most popular football team in New York City. It's Let's Go Jets Go all the way now, buddy.
You know, it's so funny. We'll talk football for a minute, and watching that first play, watching Sam Darnold throw that pick six was like, this is really totally the Jets thing. And I will say this, Jets rhymes with Mets, and if I recall, the Mets fans were hanging up banners for the World Series in, I would say, April through the beginning of May, because the Mets were the team. Now we take a look at where things are.
Between the two conferences, how are we going to come together as a country?
I don't know. It's never going to happen. But hey, listen, I'm happy for the Jets and the Jets fans. I'm sure that they'll have a better record than the Giants, because the Giants will continue to suck, and the Eagles will be better than all of them. How about that? Just for you, I said that.
We actually became friends 17 years ago, Johnny, so it's good to talk to you today.
Yes, I always enjoy talking to you today. I actually enjoy talking to you every day I can, but today's a different one.
Do you think this country will ever pull together, or you think that we're screwed up for good?
We're screwed up for good, and I will tell you, it's not just the politics. It's everything. Everything is so one way or the other. It didn't matter who got elected, because half the people would hate them, and the other half would love them. And you get these politicians in D.C. I personally think, and it'll never change. The average congressman is in for over almost 5 terms, like 10 years. Senators over 10 years. I think that term limits, things like that, really need to be changed, because you get these guys who just live in politics their whole life, and they get all the money, they get all the perks, and they don't want to make any changes. They want to talk about the changes they want to make, but they never want to make it, because they don't want to upset the big donors. They don't want to
So what are you
upset
saying?
anybody.
It's the fat cats down there in Washington?
It's the fat cats in Washington, always.
All right, Johnny.
It's a tough one, but it's a day like today is a good day for all of us to just reflect a little bit and think about what's important and in the world, and kind of maybe take a minute, think about what's important, and just remember, and stop being a bunch of fucking assholes all the time. How about that?
Peace. All right.
Later.
Here is Miles in San Diego. Miles,
Hey, guys.
you're on the Bennington Show.
Hey, I just was listening to you talk about the police situation. There was recently an article in the LA Times I don't know if it's the sheriff's department or police department, over 600 officers. There's a list of over 600 officers that have reprimands, from planting evidence to molesting a 13-year-old, that type of offense. And in each case, They all got a 30-day suspension. This is through the years, and they're all active. They got a suspension, and within a year, they got a promotion. Now, the DA's office wants this list. That's why it's in the newspaper. And the unions won't allow the list to be exposed. And the DA says, but we have thousands of felony cases that these guys are responsible for that may need to be overturned. And the union says, tough. So there's your police force. I don't think the majority of police are good. I think you can't make it in the police force if you're going to be clean and above board.
Well, you're talking about Los Angeles, and even if there's 600 cops, how many cops do you think are working for the city of Los Angeles?
Oh, in the sheriff's department, it's like 1,200.
Yeah, I mean, it's just got to go 50%. On and on and on. So, there's
50% that's been caught.
Yeah.
And given promotions. What about the guys that haven't been caught yet?
All right. Thank you for calling us, Miles. 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. This is Shane in Fort Lauderdale.
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm an avid listener to you guys. Love you guys. Listen, I think it has to do with the way the kids are brought up these days. No one says yes, sir, no, sir, to elders, let alone police officers, firemen. No one holds open doors for elderly people or people just older in general. There's no respect. No one respects anyone anymore.
All right, so how did that respect leave us as a society? What happened there?
I think we lost it about 20 years ago. You know, before I was a fireman, I was going to become a cop, but I stopped believing in it. I mean, like the way policing was going, you know, just say you catch a kid for DWI or doing something stupid. You know, I'm the type of guy to grab him by the collar if it was in his neighborhood, knock on the door, and hopefully the father would thank you and whack the kid in the back of the head and drag him in the house and punish him. You know what I mean? You can't do things the way things used to be done. You know?
Yeah.
It's just not right. It's not right. And as far as the president, hey, man, it's all about numbers. You know, a lot of us might not agree with Trump. You know, I voted for Trump, but do I agree with a lot of things he does? No, but the numbers are absolutely phenomenal right now. You know, look at the unemployment rate for blacks, Hispanics, and whites, for everyone.
Well, I'll bring this up to you. I know a lot of people that are listed as employed, and they're below the poverty level. And it's, I mean, if you look at a lot of different places, how much of that money is taken by their rent every month, any kind of health care that they have. You know, just saying somebody's employed doesn't mean that they have the kind of employment where you can have a home and raise a family. To me, that was always employment. But we have people working in Walmarts that have to go get assistance from the government. So I'm never on the side of, oh, people are working. Because if they're working in jobs that don't give them the kind of life that they can feel comfortable with, then what is even the point of that job? Let's go over here to James in Toronto. Hey, James.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?
Cool, man.
That was that was a great point you just made there. I love that one because how many full jobs came back? Like that was a big point when he ran. But get to the police thing. Not that a Canadian's going to tell you how to do it, but we don't have the guns, and the guns would make the cops less jumpy. If the cops are less jumpy, would that not lead to better policing? Like the LA Times or the LA Police Force just released LAPD, I guess, just released a video of a lady doing a traffic stop. And she gets doing the leg or whatever. Like, I couldn't tell you the last time in Canada a traffic stop resulted in somebody potentially losing their life. Like, I don't know how in America guns seem to be such a pushing point and a divider for you guys. Like, it's the statistics are wild. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on it, but it's insane.
Well, you know, let's sit around and just see if we can't even come up with the things that we think divide. Obviously, the racial stuff is a major divide here. Immigration is always divide. Guns are a divide. Women's reproductive rights are divide. the gay marriage thing is always divide. Religion is a divide. I think we got enough things that are splitting us up here. It was always interesting to me that you never. It doesn't seem like you run into anybody who's like, if they're pro-gun, they're also anti-reproductive rights for women. You know what I mean? You never see like, well, I do want gay marriage, but then I also want guns. You know
what
it's
you
just
guys
like
need?
we do
You guys
kind of
need
divide along those party lines. Pretty easy. 844 Rock God. 844 Rock God. Doug in Virginia. Doug.
Hey, Ronnie B. I got a question and a statement, if you'll allow me the time. But
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's get that cop down there in Dallas that broke into her neighbor's apartment and shot the neighbor. How is that racial at all?
I don't know. I don't really even know this story. Earl's the one who brought it up, and you see that as racial, Earl, or just a strange cop story?
It's a little bit of both, because the narrative that she put out was that he ignored her commands and that she had no choice to shoot him, and that's basically the running narrative. Yeah, but it was his apartment.
You're right. You're right. But that's fine, and I agree with that. But she thought she was in her apartment. If she thought she was in her apartment and found a stranger in her apartment, I could understand where she was coming from. Her problem was she got into the wrong apartment. Now, however she got into it, that's an issue. But I don't see that as racial. I see that as a flawed human who did a mistake and then shot this guy unwarranted and needs to pay the price for it. By all means, but I don't see it as racial.
All right, so you guys are on the same side, except for you don't like Earl bringing up race with it. All right.
Well, and that's where I think a lot of this comes from. I think a lot of times we put race into it where we don't need to. And I'll be honest with you, Ronnie, I think our biggest problem as a society is that we self-label. And we put stuff, you look at politics, you look at race, you look at everything. I'm a farm boy from Illinois who's living on the East Coast, about ready to deal with the hurricane, and you're absolutely wrong, Ron. I'm for gay marriage. I'm for smoking weed. I'm for guns ownership. I'm for the right of women to have a right to her own body. But I'm also for fiscal conservatism. The thing is
well, you don't have any of that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people out there like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is that...
No, I know that you're speaking for that libertarian thing, and I don't even think that we ever even get any libertarians elected to the school board. It always seems to be an easy thing to say, the libertarian thing, because we don't have one case where we could go, oh, well, what about that libertarian county? Look how well they're running. I'd like to see it tried. I would like to see it at least take a small place somewhere and try some of that. Jake in the West Texas town of El Paso.
Hey, I'm listening to y'all, and I feel like I'm on the same subject, but I kind of want to go in a different direction.
Wherever you want to go, buddy.
Well, I got in this argument with my mom the other day, in that I feel like what's dividing us is it started out with the Hillary Clinton and the basket of deplorables comment, and made a lot of people want to vote for Trump because they're like, I can't vote for this lady if she's going to call me a deplorable. How am I a deplorable?
Well, you would have already been at a Trump rally.
Well, no, I never went
talking
to the
about
rallies.
the people at the rallies.
Well, I know, but a lot of those people at the rallies, it would have been me if I had the opportunity to go.
Right. So that's what we were saying. You were already voting for Trump before she said that.
Okay, that's a valid point. You're right.
Yeah.
But then calling me a name, like saying I'm a deplorable, and I'm like,
but you were already voting for Trump, so this isn't the dividing point. What's the dividing point for you? Where's the trouble?
I think we've got a lot of we've divided us up into groups, in the minority groups. You got the female minority group, which they're not a minority, but they like to call themselves a minority, so they get their special handouts. You got the blacks calling themselves a minority. You got the Mexicans calling themselves a minority. You got the gays calling themselves a minority group, and everybody wants their own special Bill of Rights. Kind of like that's what that lady was saying, calling in a little bit earlier, saying let's write a whole new constitution so everybody gets their little special bill of rights. And I'm like, that's what's dividing us, is everybody feels like they're special, their group is special, and they need special privileges.
So would this be a better country if it was a white heterosexual country?
No. I don't think
Too bad.
See. That's why my brother is homosexual and he's married to a man.
Uh-huh.
And that's the argument he always comes at with me whenever I try and discuss this with him. He's like, well, you're straight white male, so your opinion doesn't really matter anymore. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, it sounds like you'd say that. All right, thanks. Let's go over here to Max. Max in New York. Max.
Hey, guys. When you're in the police academy after like a couple of months, this is my experience at least, they sit you down and they tell you, listen, if the situation gets really bad and you make a mistake, we will try to help you as much as we possibly can if there's a way that we can help you. And the reason why they say that is because they know that they're paying you garbage. They know that they can if the second you walk out of the car, you can get killed. If you add to the stress level of a police officer, if something goes wrong, I'm going to lose my house, I'm going to get fired, I'm going to get thrown in jail, my family's going to lose everything. What ends up happening is what you'll see in Ferguson and all these other places now, cops who, if they hear a radio run where something horrible can happen, like a burglary in progress, somebody with a gun, something like that, they'll just take a half hour to get there because there's no reason for them to risk everything on top of the normal risk of the job. They're going to risk everything in their lives in case a mistake happens. They'll just wait a half hour and make sure that the situation's over before they even get there. And cops will just stop putting themselves in any dangerous situations anymore. And then nobody's doing the job anymore. And then the job just crumbles and breaks down.
All right. Thank you very much, Max. 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. 17 years. 17 years. Went so fast since 9/11. I think most of us are making the case that we thought we'd have been much further along as a country. Earl, do you agree that it's minorities that are holding us all back? Did that kind of
minority? That thing was the craziest thing ever because all we're asking for is just honor the thing that's on paper. That
guy made a lot of good points.
Karen in Mass, what can we do for you?
So, I just think, how do you fix the psychology of an American?
Right.
It just seems like every individual opinion, like your opinion is the right opinion and everyone else is wrong. And that's the American way. It's like someone has to win and someone has to lose. So how do you come together?
Well, I think it's interesting. I don't think that, let's say, progressives and conservatives realize how much we need each other, right? Because you have to have progress. You have to. But at the same time, you certainly don't want to leave everything behind. So this constant birthing, the pain of birthing that takes place, it's the birth of new ideas with holding on to the things that are important. Because if we never changed, we really wouldn't have women voting, or we wouldn't have blacks being able to vote. We wouldn't have gays having rights. And everyone gets around. Like, I'll notice, like, even at the Republican National Convention, they celebrated Martin Luther King. But they weren't celebrating him in 1968. It takes a while to get used to any kind of change. And Earl, yes, things are better now between blacks and whites, certainly than when I was younger. Certainly.
Yeah,
it just might not be as far along as you want.
Yeah, but I think now it's regressing really. To the point where, like, here in New York City, there was a report that the schools are now segregated more than before Brown versus Board of Education. So I think things are going backwards.
Segregating what? Self-segregation?
They don't know. They can't figure out whether it was self-segregation or whether it was
zoning.
There was a lot of rezoning. So maybe
why kids in New York go everywhere. Zoning makes no sense. This isn't the fucking suburbs. Zoning doesn't matter in New York City. Kids get on a train and go all the way across town.
No, but they rezone neighborhoods how, like, when I went to Newtown High School, I was on the zoning line that would have sent me to John Bound High School. Instead, I went to Newtown High School. And they'll just move the lines back and forth.
Karen, what is wrong with Americans?
I think what was great about Americans is that we wanted to be individuals. And now I think that's what's wrong with Americans, is because we just can't see anyone else's point of view ever. Like, it always has to be that someone's got to win. And I think that's Trump too. He's always got to win. He's got to be the winner, even if that means that the rest of, even though we need the Democrats, to your point.
Well, I will say this. I think Trump is the first president who didn't try to fake the point that he was here for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if every president before wasn't as partisan as him, but they at least publicly said that they weren't. Where the election has never stopped. I mean, you could see Trump is out doing gigs just as much as when he was in the election. So the election never stops now. Just like you said, the news cycle never stops. The election never stops. And this Cynthia Nixon, the bagel choice alone just cost her my vote. Read it, Chris.
It's a cinnamon raisin bagel with lox, cream cheese, and tomato and capers.
You're not going to have sweetened fish. It just doesn't get done that way. I'm sorry, Cynthia Nixon, but you are going to have a press conference tonight. Here's Chris in Long Island. Chris.
Hey, Ronnie. Just again, hypothetically, if she had walked into what she thought was her apartment and saw a white guy in there, do you think she still would have shot, or do you think possibly she's conditioned to profile that blacks are most likely going to be robbing somebody?
Well, that we'll never know until she walks into another apartment. But you seem to be making the point that that Earl was making earlier, that race did play into this.
Yeah, if it was a white woman, she walked in, would she have shot? Or you know what I mean? But I think you saw a black guy, start firing.
844 Rock God. 844 Rock God. Let's go over here to Paul in Kansas. Paul, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Hey, real quick before I get to my point, I could care less if Bill and Steve want to get married, and I firmly believe in gun rights. You know, if they want to get married and be miserable like the rest of us, by all means, let them do it. And I still carry a gun everywhere I go. But anyway,
right, let's
really
stop there, Paul. Let's just go back there. Why do you carry a gun everywhere you go?
Because I have that right.
No, but why do you feel like you need to carry a gun?
You know, just personal protection. I'm not gonna mess with people.
Has anything ever happened to you before?
I've had a couple incidents where I found somebody breaking in my car, and
well, you don't need a gun.
Somebody breaking into my neighbor's house.
Yeah.
I don't know what they've got, but I promise you, I'm not going to let anything bad happen to me or my family.
But here's the thing. I mean, that fact is, so far you haven't come up with a situation where you really need a gun. So far in your life.
I hope I don't.
Right.
I honestly hope I never have to pull that trigger. And, you know, to this date, I've owned a gun for 25 years, and I've never had to pull the trigger at anything but a target. So
no, I completely understand. I just always wonder why somebody thinks there will be. Like, you don't carry power tools, and you could end up needing a power tool at one time. There's plenty of things that you could use in an emergency, but we don't take them with us all the time. Like, if I saw somebody that was just carrying around the jaws of life with them. You know what I mean? And they go, I don't know. There could be an accident. I might have to pull somebody out. I go, okay, I understand that. But I never run into people doing that. I never see anybody with an oxygen tank. I never see anybody just sitting around like I'm carrying a gallon of gas with me. I don't know what's going to happen. But a gun, people are willing to carry that with them all the time.
I think people just have fantasies about using the gun. I think that's what happens. I think a lot of people have vigilante fantasies.
I think you're jumping to conclusions. We don't know that for a fact. We don't know that. I'm just bringing up all the things that you may need at one point and you don't have.
Like a flashlight. You might always need a flashlight.
Some people I do. I will say this. I have met people who take flashlights around with them. Little ones, tiny ones. I met people who always have some water on them. There wasn't anybody when I was younger carrying water around, but I see people like that now. I think a big part of this problem is backpacks. I think a lot of people have too much stuff on them at any time. Devin in Florida. Devin.
Hey, Ronnie.
Hey, buddy.
Thanks for letting me on. I'm from Long Island. I moved down to Florida 6 months ago, and I think all the points that you're making and Karen from Massachusetts are 100% correct. The division of people, it's all about individuality, but it's about what the people at the top are doing to manipulate the individuality. And coming from New York, where I was in a pretty wealthy neighborhood, down to Florida, where I'm not, you just see people who are talk about abortion or women's reproductive rights or even gun ownership. You look at the NRA and their ads and what you get in American Rifleman magazine, and you're charging $2,000, $3,000 for guns for people who don't have enough money to put food on their table, but it's okay to go out and be a gun-owning NRA member. Or you want to make it impossible for a woman in a state to get an abortion. She has to go to somewhere else or go to a doctor or a back alley, when the people who have money will never have any kind of problem going and getting something like that taken care of. Everything that I see that causes our country to have a division is something that somebody else manipulated to give them a fear of or to give them a reason why they have to be afraid. And I think that everything that it comes down to is that the people at the top have more than the people at the bottom, and the people at the top know how to stoke the fears of the people at the bottom so that they can keep them separated so that they're never really getting ahead.
So what are the people at the top fearing? They've got to be fearing something. I mean, what do they really want to do? Make more money when they got most of the money? It's always very surprising to me as well. And by the way, I will say this about gun owners. Just like the last gentleman who said he's carried a gun for 25 years, never used it. I think that's how most people are. I think most people who've had a gun in their house have never once thought this is the time to use it. Most of the time, you are completely safe around people that have guns because they're responsible people. Here's Nick. Let's go to Nick in Baltimore. Nick.
Ronnie B, $1 million, man.
Thanks.
So I think you asked two questions. One is what's wrong, and two is how do we fix it.
Okay.
I think what's wrong is that through social media, through the news, we have basically created a series of echo chambers for everyone's individual belief where we don't even agree that there is a set of facts anymore by which we can all agree on. Whatever issue you want, different echo chambers, whether it's news channels, blogs, whatever, back it up with selective facts. So if you and I are in a debate about two things that we disagree on, we're not even reading from the same playbook as we debate.
I would agree with that. And I've seen that happen all day today.
And it's happening as we sit here on the phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we fix it by, and this is a bit of a right turn, I think as a nation, we have to decide what is the future of the global economy and how do we best fit into it? Because in World War II, you had people locking into producing stuff, defending the country, helping out with kids whose parents were away, things like that. And I think we need to decide what's the future of the world and how can we position ourselves to do it? Is the future of the world in tech-based information? Great. Then let's get people to work teaching kids how to do that stuff, teaching people how to be competitive in a global economy that's going to be coming up the next 20 years. We need to getting ready to keep us progressive as a nation, because you said it, the job of a leader is to keep us somewhat progressive, and we have to make sure that we are seeing what the next thing is, agreeing on it, and then all pooling resources. And I'll say that I also always carry a Jaws of Life in my trunk, because you never know.
You never know. You never know. So here's a guy, Jaws of Life in his trunk, always prepared, like a Boy Scout. Earl, what do you always have with you?
I always have water, and
you have water on you right now.
I have water right behind me. I have water in my bag. I always have water with me.
You were telling me that we're 92% water.
What?
And we need to refresh that all the time. Here's Chuck in Boston. Chuck.
Well, listening for years when Earl's on, it seems that, Earl, you kind of take the angle where you try to make it out to be racist every time. It's like you're race baiting. How about you look at the situation like with the tennis player? Somebody said keep her in her place. It's about she has a place as a tennis player to respect the game, not keep her in a place because she's black. So
but, here's an interesting thing, though, Chuck, because I know the person who said that about, hey, stay, know your role, stay in your place. That person isn't even in fucking tennis. Who are they? You know what I mean? Why are they so willing to give and all of us can sit around and give our opinions, about what somebody else should be doing. Did that come across as racist? Yeah, I think it did. And that was by a liberal woman. That was Morning Mika. But yeah, I think all of us say racist things. It's not always like death to the Jews, but some of us are like, how that, you know what I mean? Like why can't we take responsibility for our imperfections? And how will I know how much racism Earl's ever had in his life? Or how will I know Chris Stanley's problem because he was raised by a drug addict? Did we both have the same benefits in life? No. Chris got as low benefits as you can for a white person in this country. Earl, you got more benefits than most black people, I would say. You had a loving family.
Yeah, two-parent home.
Two-parent home, pushing you to do well, being supportive of you in many, many ways. Your brother, a military hero. Your sister, an unwed mother.
I don't know about that.
Did any of them get married before they had babies? Okay, that's all I needed to know. That's as far as I needed to know, Earl. Do you get mad when people say that you bring race in everything, Earl?
I only bring race I only bring race into it if you eliminate all the other variables. You know what I mean?
How about when Don came in and said that the listeners were you surprised by that today?
Very taken aback by that.
Me too. My jaw hit the floor. He says that the listeners haven't been reacting nice to Earl.
What?
And he said, Jack listened the other day and said Earl was really getting it. I'm like, I don't think that happened.
It didn't happen.
I was shocked. I was like, really?
You're getting gaslit, Earl.
Earl, where do you experience less racism? Here or Hard Rock?
Less here.
Less here than Hard Rock?
Yeah.
What's the racism at Hard Rock?
If a guest sees me coming towards them, some will get very, very defensive.
What will they say? I'll kill you?
Not I'll kill you, but they think for some reason I'm perceived as a threat. I don't know why.
Does that make you feel proud of yourself?
Not at all, because I don't think I am.
I would love to be perceived as a threat. I would love for people to scream and run when they saw me the way they do you. Miguel in San Jose. Miguel, you're on the air.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Good. So some things I always pack whenever I leave the house. I always got a straight blade Kershaw. You always keep a belt on in case you need a secondary weapon, and you always leave the house with shoes on. Never fucking sandals or slippers and none of that bullshit, because you got to be ready.
I forgot. I wanted to bring this up. Is it ever okay for a man to wear shorts? It just seems like we're getting past that point where a man should be in shorts. So, Miguel, where are we going in the United States? What's our problem, and how do we fix it?
The problem is too many people are just being scared of their own lives and sacrificing rights just to try and be comfortable and be one with everybody else. Everybody's got to be an individual and have their own goals and develop their strengths, you know what I mean, and keep it moving forward. People just love to sit around and complain about what somebody else is doing that is affecting their life, when in fact, they're not doing anything to change their life or change their situation, change their position, or do something to be better. People got to stop being scared.
Thank you, my friend. Here's Jeff in Miami. Jeff.
Yeah, Ron, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said responsibility. None of these kids, nobody ever wants to take responsibility for what they do wrong. And if the punishment, so to speak, fit the crime for everybody from the rich white man, that can buy his way out of prison to the poorer people or the famous people like, no offense, but OJ and guys like that, it's just, once you realize that there's no penalty, why not keep doing it?
All right, thank you. Here's our buddy Lewis in Manhattan. Lewis.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, buddy.
I don't know all the answers to it. I think it's a lot of different things, but one of the things I want to point out, which is one of the things that we need to do right away. When you had a few calls back, the guy was talking about the policewoman that broke into the guy's apartment, and he was telling Earl, what is she supposed to do? She thinks she's in her apartment. How do you expect her to react? But he never once said how was the black guy supposed to react to this stranger breaking in his house with a gun. She's giving him orders, but he doesn't know she's a cop. He doesn't know what she's about. So he's not seeing that other guy's perspective. And I think that until we start seeing each other's perspectives, we ain't gonna get shit done. And that's just one of the things. That's just one of the many problems.
There is no doubt about that. The toughest thing for people to do is to see it from the other guy. You know what I mean? What does the other person want? What does the other person need? I mean, we're seeing this right now with the Me Too movement, where as soon as you bring up something, somebody is like, what about the victims? And maybe it's close to impossible for men to see things through women's eyes. And maybe it's close to impossible for white people to understand what it's like to be a black person. Maybe if we could just start there, even if we don't move on, let's say we just spent 6 months pondering that. Can you see the other person's perspective?
Yeah, there was a video making the rounds of a woman. It was like a lecture, and she was like, okay, how many white people in here said, raise your hands? It's like, how many people want to trade places with black people? None of them raised their hands.
Do you want to trade places with a white person?
I'm very comfortable as a black person.
Well, that's why you wouldn't raise your hand. But what if I gave you this? What if I gave you the chance to switch places with a lighter black person?
Going like the high yellow?
Yeah, well, I don't use that phrasing. I'm too woke for that.
And I've seen that. I've known guys who had to deal with that nonsense, where they weren't quote unquote black enough. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Ain't I black enough for you? Eddie in Tennessee.
Yeah, Earl was talking about when he's at the Hard Rock, when he approaches people, he said that they think that he's a threat. Well, maybe he's worried, he's putting it on them that they think that, is he in their mind? Does he know what they think just by just walking beside of them?
What makes you feel like they see you as a threat, Earl?
Like, I'll walk up to a person, and I'll say, hi, hello, how are you? And they kind of flinch a little bit. They get a little defensive. And I'm like, and I feel it. And I'm kind of like, I'm being friendly. I'm being cordial. You know what I mean? And everyone says, well, you're
so
a big
woman
guy.
automatically
like, no,
clenches her purse when you walk up? I mean,
yes,
that's kind of the way you're making it out like.
And they put their hands over their breasts and their vaginas as if he's going to do something. Earl, You know you have a militant look, though, with the all-black uniform that you wear.
Yeah, and I can't help it. The Hard Rock uniform is also black, but you see me. I got the lanyard on.
No, I saw you actually have flair.
Yeah, I got the flare on, and I'm like, I'm trying to be friendly. And that's we're in the.
Now, why are you approaching them? Is it about, do they need seating or something?
Yeah, if they look lost, the biggest question is
if they look vulnerable, you come up, you approach them.
The biggest question at the Hard Rock all the time is, where's the bathroom and what's the Wi-Fi?
The bathroom is in an odd spot there. I'll say that. It's all the way back in that corner. Yes. And the Wi-Fi, I'm sorry, we're underground. You're not going to get it.
Wouldn't they be approaching you if they was asking the question where the restroom was? I mean, you shouldn't be going up to them asking, do you know where the restroom is?
Jeez, Eddie, from you, it's starting to sound like you're trying to put Earl in his place. I mean, you don't work for the Hard Rock.
Yeah, but you can tell when someone's lost. You're like, oh, where's the bathroom? I'm like, hey, you need any help? And I try to point them in the right direction.
It's hard to believe that's even a job, what you do. It's hard to believe going up to people and trying to guess whether they have to pee or not.
Or if they need
is
Wi-Fi.
A job. Joe in North Jersey.
Hey, Ron. Love the show, bud.
It is good.
I just think that that whole conversation that you were having with Don about Black Girl, I think that Dan's behind the scenes poisoning people on him, trying to take him down.
I will say this. I don't know where that came from today. And the fact that if I was the only one surprised by that, I'd be like, oh, I'm missing something. But both Earl and Chris were surprised by that.
I mean, it's not a coincidence that, Dan got the boot from Earl. Now all of a sudden the big bosses are all looking down at Earl. I don't know.
Dan had to go no matter what.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
agree.
It came to a head.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even... I would have replaced Dan with a deer tick.
Would have got here on time.
And would have given out as much Lyme disease as if it wasn't here. Now, why do you think that he would have immediately, and the first thing he said, they're really giving it to Earl?
I really have no clue because no one's been giving it to Earl.
No one but me, and that's our fun relationship. I don't know, Earl.
It was weird.
Maybe this isn't working out.
Oh, it's working out.
I always thought that maybe this country would be more patriotic if we served it more. That if there was something, one of those things like when you're in Israel, that you have to put in 2 years of military service. Well, what if that's like a choice? You could do military, or you could work forestry, or you could help teach kids, but something that is a time between youth and moving on, where you got to know something outside of yourself and your people.
Oh, that's what college was for when you went away to college.
No.
College is for one thing now, dude, and that is to make more money. That's the only reason people go to college. The only reason they think that an education matters is to make more money. No one thinks, oh, I'll become educated in this thing, and then therefore I can savor it more or share that love of this with other people. That's gone. It's all about that paper. That paper, Earl. Money, 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 money.
Money.
I don't understand why we still, with all these fucking computers, why do you still need a brick and mortar thing to have a college? Why do you have to go around? Most of the time, what are you doing in college, Chris? You're hearing lectures, right?
Yeah, you're in lecture rooms.
FaceTime. Why don't you have to sign into FaceTime every day? Why are you going away, getting a fucking loan? And who wouldn't take an immediate loan? Because kids can't see the future. So they're like, yeah, give me the money. I'll know something will come out. Look, the first time they gave me a fucking a credit card, that was simply for alcohol and potato skins. And why I was drinking and eating potato skins, I thought to myself, something's going to come through between now and when that bill gets here. That's how you fucking think when you're young. Something good is going to happen. But seriously, this whole fucking idea of college seems to be fucking old school.
Whole process is flawed.
Yeah.
It's really flawed. Just the amount of money they're charging for going to colleges. It's fucking ridiculous.
It's unbelievable.
I think Columbia is the most expensive school in the country. It's like $70,000 a semester.
Well worth it though. When I got my Columbia education. I had a different kind of Colombian education. Well, I will say this, 17 years after the fact, I'm not proud of us. I'm not proud of us as a nation.
It's hard to do that. It's hard to even process right now.
It's hard to really feel like, oh man, we have a lot to be proud of right now. I mean, Earl can't even walk up to people. Hey, Matt, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I love you guys. Love the show.
What's happening?
I think my biggest thing, it just seems simple to me, is just exposure and our lack of willingness to get exposure to other people, and I think that's a generational failing of parents year after year. And that's something that the internet was supposed to do for us, and it's just done the opposite.
Yeah, I will say this, to get to know how each other live, what if we made wife swap mandatory?
Good idea. What about?
You just have to take on somebody else's wife for a while. See how the other guy lives. Hey, Ty in Vegas.
Ronnie B, how you doing, man? Earl, good to hear you again. I've been doing stand-up for 10 years as a black man, and I've traveled around, and I've seen a lot of weird shit. And I'm kind of coming up with a different idea. And I'm not saying that I want to renounce my blackness, but I'm going to not make it a priority anymore. All I love is being black. But I'm hearing the way people are responding to you, and they're making it seem like, you're just making a big deal. So what I think it is racism is just the coup du jour of hate. So people probably aren't racist. They're just dumb. So if you come to me and my blackness is your ammo, I don't care anymore.
But what happens if it becomes, a confrontation?
That's where you got to take the onus into your own hands. I mean, listen, the strength of a man is in his resolve. Listen, this is all new. I just moved back from Oakland. Like I said, I've been all over the place.
Oh, town.
But, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people just like it. The first thing is, okay, you attack somebody with, racial anger, and then they say, oh, I'm not racist. They're probably not. They're hateful, but hateful and racism are two different things. So if somebody was to try to attack me on my blackness, all right, bro, you could have it. I'm not going to do the normal response. I'm not going to fight him. I'm not going to uppercut him. I'm not going to be on a World Star video. Hey, bro, you could have it, though, because if all you're trying to do is bring me to your level with hate, I'm not doing that. I'm not stooping to your level. So I just kind of wanted to, I'm wondering how Earl feels about that. Because, hey, look, being black is hard. I've been black for 33 years. It's really fucking hard. Being a black comic is even harder.
Ty, let me say this to you, Earl. You don't know how hard it is to be a white heterosexual man because we're supposed to win. So a guy like Chris, he's got nothing to blame it on.
Yeah.
His failures actually belong to Chris.
Yeah.
And very few people can say, I didn't get ahead, and everything was set up for me to get ahead.
I know. I'm unique that way.
Not unique. There's plenty of fucking white guys not making it. Even though the greatest thing that could happen is to be born with a white American penis. Earl, we've talked about this before. It's like being drafted by the Yankees. It's like being in the Yankee organization. That's how much you're expected to win. And put that in, would you? Because I want to leave it as a surprise. I would say this: a white dick should literally have pinstripes like the Yankee uniform and numbers, no names on it.
Always.
I got a break here. A lot of people just want to challenge Earl on whether something's racist or not. People do not believe that you know what racism is, Earl. They believe that you're blowing it out of proportion.
And again, I use every variable. That's the nuclear option for me. I'm like, I always remove everything.
Joel too.
And then I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe it's just good old fashioned racism. Because if you remove everything else, I'm like, okay, it's this, it's that.
I like that you think of it as good old, though. You know what I mean? That's nice. I didn't know if that was even Jen or not that walked by. That's how bad I am with racism.
I don't think it was.
Jeez, I feel bad now.
Don't.
All right, we got to break. This is the 17th anniversary of 9/11, and Earl and I talked about that. We were all together that night. Chris Stanley did not come in to work.
I wasn't working with you at that point. I was in college. College freshman.
Seems like you still could have come in if you cared. Maybe that's another time you let down your race and gender. We will be back with more, though. This is... I got a surprise for everybody, too, when we get back. This is Bennington. Why would you say it when me and you are right next to each other? How's that any different?
Not at
all. Let's have a seat. What did I do? I was down the hall. Somebody's here from one of your kind of favorite things. So we're going to play, I don't know, some kind of guessing game. I don't know what game that would have been. I don't think it's to tell the truth. It's one of those old time things. So put on your blindfolds with your eyes. And first of all, before you even do that, what are some before you get here, your big interests? Shut your eyes while you tell us.
Well, I know this Friday, Childish Gambino is at Madison Square Garden.
That is true.
I'm going.
What else is an interest of yours?
Wrestling.
Wrestling. You like wrestling?
I like wrestling.
You're also a sports fan. Ruth,
sports
right?
fan, Mets, Jets, Knicks.
And you're a TV fan.
Yeah.
So we will give you 20 questions to try to guess who is here. Now she's making a little noise right now. Have you figured it out?
Oh, wow!
Don't scream, it's the baby. Juliet is here for the first time.
Yay! Yay!
You gave it away by not changing your voice. Yeah. She's a little sleepy. Come over and take a look, Vito. Look at her.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Julia.
This is Vito. He works with us too. And over there was Chris.
Hi.
He's gonna take you home to babysit.
Yeah. No.
Her eyes just got wide.
I could not.
She's hurt. And that's Earl. He makes everything about racism. You like the studio?
Do you think she recognizes it?
I think she does. She was here in her own way. She's a little sleepy, huh?
She is.
Ah.
I did not expect that.
Well, I told Gail that you really wanted to see the baby, and she doesn't want you in her home.
Grab a mic. Grab a mic.
Ah.
It is so funny to have her in here.
It's weird, right? Oh, God, does that take me back to Fez? Yeah, buddy, what's wrong? What's up, pal? Somebody got you upset today? I know. Oh.
She sounds good on
She does sound good on the air. But at the same time she's doing it, she's got her eyes closed now, too. You had her out all day, huh?
Yeah, she likes the stroller though.
Yeah.
So it makes her sleepy. Hey, buddy. Hi. She talks now. She's a genius.
Ah. Juliet, first time in the studio. Chris, do you want to come over and play with her little toes or kiss her little toesies?
I don't think I should do that.
Here, I'll take her socks off.
What?
Come kiss the toesies, Chris.
No, that's fine. I'm good over here.
Don't act like you don't like the baby.
I love the baby.
Well, that's too much. You just met her.
She's great.
Aww.
Looks like Chris has scared somebody. What did Chris do to you?
Nothing.
Sounds like she said you touched her.
I don't want to call the child a liar.
You know what? I think it's too much light. You got her too close to the light.
Vito, dim it.
Dim it.
Jesus, Vito.
Make it nice and baby calm.
Yeah.
This thing is a little darker,
Nice.
Too dark.
How about when?
She's afraid.
Yeah. You've ruined everything, Vito. Aw. So you hate being a mom, Gail? Still don't have this worked out. The whole thing is broke.
The keyboard broke.
Aww.
So we have to order one with a new one.
Juliet loves keyboards. Why
know
would you
that.
not have it ready for her? She's hungry.
Yeah.
Hey, bud. Do you love radio?
She's literally trying to pull your shirt down as we're sitting here. And that is tough in this Me Too environment that we all live in.
She's going to have to go to HR.
Yeah, puffing stuff. Kids love that. Wait till she sees the Flintstones. She's going to be so happy. I'm trying to hold that for as long as I can. Vito, do you even remember what your first favorite thing is when you were a baby?
No, the first. Yeah, actually, the show Bananas in Pajamas. That was my favorite thing in the world.
Bananas and pajamas, they're running down the stairs. Bananas and pajamas, they're chasing teddy bears.
I used to babysit this little girl who was Australian. And
that's a long way to go to babysit. I'd like to see Americans get babysat first.
And I said, "Oh, you like bananas in pajamas?" And she's like, "It's bananas in pajamas, not bananas in pajamas."
It's bananas and pajamas. I wonder, did they turn around and change the accents there?
No, it's an Australian show.
It is.
Yeah.
I thought it was Swedish.
Oh wait, no, you're thinking the Teletubbies. Isn't the Teletubbies Swedish?
Yeah, I thought just all those children's shows have.
I mean,
I don't know how
Tinky
anybody can
Winky's
watch
gotta be Swedish.
Teletubbies though.
Tubby custard.
So we were just talking about this, 17 years, and when it was me, you, Earl, Fez, Billy Staples, and the Hawk. That was all
Yeah,
together.
that's right.
All together on 9/11, 17 years ago.
Yeah, this morning was really surreal. Holding her, watching the reading of the names, and thinking like, God, at this point now, I'm coming up on it being
It's
like
more
longer.
than half your life.
Yeah.
And literally no progress have we made at all as a nation.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Was she eating too fast?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
She does it all the time.
That's the same problem I have with Chris.
It's a problem.
Norris. Yeah, Norris. sent me a thing of M&Ms, and Chris ate them all.
Chris,
I know. It's not proud of what I did.
you know that he loves them.
That's my favorite thing, and I call it M&M's peanuts. And then he said that you helped Fido.
Yeah, he came in just like chomping on them, and it's hard when you hear.
But did you know that those were mine when you jumped in?
I was aware of it because of earlier they were giving you on the show, so I was aware. But I just, I was brought.
You realize it wasn't given to the show?
No, it wasn't. It said Tio Ron on it, and I should have known better.
Aw, she calls you Tio Ron? That's so cute.
Well, she's Hispanish. All right, everybody should get out of Florence's path. Flossie's on her way.
Aunt Flo.
Yeah. And it looks like somewhere in between, right next to Wilmington and Cape Hatteras. I'm going out to the Outer Banks to see what I can do to stop it. She's making a lot of noise, huh?
She's a loud eater.
She
gets that from Chris, really.
Yeah. Chris is a loud eater.
You don't think.
Mm-mm. I don't think that at all. Maybe she's not getting enough.
I think she's getting plenty.
Man, I hope she doesn't hit the buffet like that. Vito, you think you'll ever have a baby?
Eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Like at some point.
I think Vito would be a good dad.
Mm-mm.
No?
Mm-mm.
He seems fun.
I don't think he knows how to get children to have fun or how to take them and play games with them.
It's actually my strong suit.
Yeah, but you don't do that as a dad. That's something. That's more like, you want to bounce her around a little bit?
Yeah. He didn't like the angle.
No, I don't blame
particular.
her. Well, these chairs are weird for everybody. You want to use the couch?
Yeah, I'll probably switch over there, but I'm good like this for right now.
But how weird is it for you to be back in the studio?
Surreal. It's really strange. It's really weird. It was really weird having her here, like walking down the hall. It's like you've kind of been here.
What if she got like a little badge for herself? Oh, like a little intern.
She's got to get a red badge.
Yeah. When are we even getting our interns again?
Monday? The 17th, right?
Monday is the official start date, yeah.
I want each of them to be able to remember exactly where they were on 9/11.
Okay. I'll make sure that happens.
Chris, think of the joke. They're going to be 18 or 19. Hey, Brian, San Francisco, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Ron.
Hey.
I wanted to add some context to what Earl was saying, because people forget about implicit bias in policing. Know that only that African Americans don't get shot the most by cops. But if you look at the numbers and slide up for the fact that we're only 6%, you're 5 times more likely as an African American male to be shot by a police officer than as a Caucasian male. So when especially in Texas, you can instantly insert racism in there because she would assume he was dangerous just by the numbers that are reported by the FBI.
So basically, it's, black equals perp, regardless of the circumstances.
Yeah. Does that make you feel better, Earl, or worse?
Awful.
Okay.
I've had to live with that all my entire adult life. In life, actually.
Brad in Alabama.
Hey, Bennington, man, I love your show.
Thanks, man.
Hey, so I'm from Alabama, and I went to a mostly black high school, and I'm white, and I understand why people judge black people. It's the same as if you walk in someplace and you see someone with a tattoo on their face, you automatically get that assumption that they are that something about them is wrong, which it shouldn't be that way, but that is how America perceives people. Because I know friends that have facial tattoos, and I know they're good people, but the same way that a lot of these Midwestern white trash people look at black people the same way. They see black and they think, oh my God, it's a bad person. That's the problem that we have in this country, is the perception just by the view.
Yeah, I don't know why you thought you were bringing in a new thought with that, Fred. I think we're all pretty well comfortable with knowing how racism works. Earl, it's not so much you, it's your skin color, is what we're saying to you. It's almost like you've got a facial tattoo, but everywhere. You understand? Do not take it the wrong way.
I don't know. I guess the mocha kind of is a handicap at this point.
I'm not comfortable with that word. She's still eating like a crazy person.
She is. You don't have to mic the breast.
I don't think. I'm going to go to HR over that, Vito. Yes. Not going to lie, Juliet crying is making me have some kind of feels. Aw.
Which
thanks,
ones?
Rekka. Now you're the first father, daughter, granddaughter radio show. Fez crying reference slayed me. Juliet makes everything better. Hi, baby Juliet. Oh, these are nice. Juliet is another person that could easily replace Disco Dan.
Hey, what'd you guys do with Dan? When I left, Dan was here.
Yeah, we got rid of him. We found out that he was ratting us out all the time. What? Actually, today, is today the first day Don saw you, Earl?
No, I saw him last week.
Don came in and he goes, yeah, we were talking about how Earl's really getting it on the air and how the listeners don't like him. We were like, what?
What?
It makes no sense.
Terrible.
All right, Half Astronaut wrote, baby Juliet, cool. I think I heard her almost say, no, I'm the one who does things. No, I'm the one who does things. I'm loving how uncomfortable Stanley must be while baby Jay is breastfeeding in the studio. He's trying to withhold himself from pleasuring, from self-pleasure. That is weird, though, Chris, that you're not comfortable around young humans when you are a human.
I know, yeah. I just don't like being around them.
You were a baby.
You
once.
were one.
Yeah, you were a little baby.
And a bad one.
Oh, I'm sure I was a very bad child.
Why would you even say that?
I don't know. My parents seemed very disturbed as I grew up. Sure, me being a bad child didn't help anything.
Jesus.
You know, everybody likes to call me the Lenny of the show, but I'm perfectly comfortable around a baby, and Chris can't even make eye contact.
Wait a minute, how are you the Lenny of the show?
Like the one who'll crush a bunny rabbit.
Lenny never crushed a bunny rabbit. Have you? Are you familiar with the story at all? It's not the story of a guy who uncomfortably crushed bunny rabbits.
I thought it was just he went around.
Get rid of this guy. He's killed too many.
He went around snapping rabbits' necks.
Well, it's a very readable thing. It's available at any bookstore. You don't have to guess because you've heard a quote or two.
I thought that's what happened in the book.
Are you thinking the cartoon?
I'm thinking about the cartoon where.
Hey, there's a what my mama done told me.
Yeah.
They gave me a rabbit. The next Dancing with the Stars. The big rumor is, and I think there's a picture up on the iBank. If you see the woman holding the guy by the head,
yeah.
The thought is, if you look at those fingernails, that's Nikki Glazer that could be doing that show. Chris doesn't put it up here anymore. What's happened with our whole system today, Chris?
There's a lot of screw-ups on the technology side.
Why don't we get Earl in this room? He was the guy who's run the board for so many years.
Yeah, we're teaching him that room first, and then we're going to bring him into this room.
Oh, do you think you understand that room?
Today was like the first day I really get a hang of it.
Oh, good for you. So the point is this Nikki Glazer, and is she going to be on Dancing with the Stars?
I think it is Nikki Glazer. I'm staring at the fingernails. Everything seems to match
Everything
up.
comes down to the fingernails.
Yeah.
It looks like her in the fingers, even.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely her.
The nail beds. That's what you got to look at. You can't change nail beds.
What?
That's
what?
a very.
Nail beds. The base of the nail.
What?
You can't change those.
I didn't know that was called a nail bed.
Yeah, that's a nail bed.
So where's the nail bed? Right here?
Right there, that line.
Well, why wouldn't that look like anybody else's nail bed?
Some people have nicer nail beds than others. I've been told I have exquisite nail beds.
All right, bring your nail beds over. Then why aren't you on Dancing with the Stars? Oh, yeah, you killed that rabbit.
Oh, my God, those are beautiful.
Let me see. Oh, I could sleep in that nail bed. Let's see. It looks the same as any other fucking male I've ever seen in my life.
No, people used to stop me when I was serving them drinks and tell me how nice my nail beds were.
You're lying.
I swear.
fucking way.
I didn't know
You could be a nail bed model.
I didn't know the term.
Just the beds. You've got to
Just-
cut it off right before the
Well, the
fingertip.
bottom it gets a little chubby, but just the tip of the nail bed.
I think if you say nail bed one more time, you're fired.
Okay.
I think I will go so far to let you go.
The only way to tell if that's her is to match the elbow. Because that's a very specific elbow.
Yeah, that is.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a very
off.
pointy elbow in the first picture. I wish I could see her elbow.
I was just with her last night. I had to follow her at New Joke Night. She is fucking hysterical.
She's so funny.
She is so good on stage. Dirty. But really, really funny. Your mouth is numb from being at the dentist. Gail was at the dentist around the corner. That's why the baby's here today. So now you don't get to see her. And you know what? You really didn't even react as much as I thought you would.
Well,
I thought you'd been like, oh, let me pick her up, or can I bounce her?
I screamed and then I got scared.
Why would you scream?
Because I was excited. And I didn't know what to do. And then I got nervous.
That's why you're going to make a bad father. I don't know what to do.
You've got to know.
And then I want to wait to hold the baby until she's eaten.
Oh, are you
gonna
going to
let
eat
her
her?
hold you on
Are
my
you going to
tit?
eat her?
No, I want to wait till she's full.
This is the perfect time to cuddle her. You have to wash your hands though first.
No, you're not holding the baby.
He can hold her.
You crushed the fucking bunny.
Crushed the bunny.
By the way, I don't know why someone needs to hold when they could just see her across the room. It's every bit as good.
It's actually better.
Yeah, it is.
Can enjoy her more.
Ah, look at her. It's going to be so fun having a baby on the show. But you guys have to be a lot quieter. You know who really loves babies and is crazy? Is Earl.
Really?
Earl will sit and make faces at a baby for hours on end. I've seen him do
I
it.
did not know that.
Yeah.
I love them. I absolutely love them. And I just I do this thing with I do this thing at the Hard Rock with the fidget spinner. I put it on top of my head and it's spin, and I act like a fly.
On your bald head?
Yes.
Let's see you do it now. You got a fidget spinner?
Cute.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Did everyone hear that?
Yeah.
Burp right into the mic.
Yeah, it's good though. She needs to do that. All right, now Earl's got the fidget spinner on his head. And how do you act like you're flying? Now you
Let me see.
yeah. Stand up, Earl, so everybody can see you.
Yep. And so I do that, and
then you spin it on your head, and then you act like you're flying. And did they like that?
Oh, they love it. Absolutely love it.
Now, what about their parents? Are their parents afraid that you're going to drag the baby off?
No, the parents, they love it even more. They're like, look, he's flying.
But you told us that you were you had to deal with racism every day.
Everyone thought you were a threat.
And that Hard Rock Johnny has set up a racist sweatshop.
And that the Wi-Fi sucks.
Didn't say the Wi-Fi sucks. Works perfectly fine.
She gets so sleepy right after she eats, right?
Mm-hmm, she does.
Hey, baby girl. I wrote a song that tries to get her to know who I am. I'm just going to sing it. Pop 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 pop. Look how she's looking at the microphone.
You know.
Well, it seems like she has stage fright.
Go ahead, grab a stick.
So how have the last 6 weeks been? You like it here?
It's actually 7 weeks today.
7 weeks. Man, that went fast.
Did you guys get a cake or?
Yeah. What did you order baby food for the baby?
I didn't order anything.
She still hasn't eaten baby food yet, huh?
No, it's not for a while.
For me, it was this morning. It's the only thing I can digest right now. 1.5 million people have been asked to evacuate before the storm hits. And Trump also said, "Don't worry, you're not Puerto Rico. We'll be right here for you." Pop 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 pop. Oh, she's tired. Her eyes are so heavy. She opens them and then she just starts to shut them. You know what she said? So she got here. I thought the studio was going to be bigger. And then she goes, "Well, where's Howard at?"
There's Common.
Come and get your love. Oh, she passed out, Gail. Now she's struggling to stay open and keep her eyes open again.
What does she think she's gonna miss?
I don't know. It's not even a visual medium, so there's nothing to say.
You know what she always listens to?
What?
Big Brothers.
She's a big fan of Big Brothers.
That's exciting. Who does she think's gonna win all the money?
She thinks it's a Casey Steele. Sorry, Tyler.
Makes sense.
It's the way it's looking for him.
She on the feeds?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Thank God for the feeds.
Chris, you're back on the Angela bandwagon?
Yeah, I'm saying Angela goes. She takes it. She takes it all.
I can't see anyone voting for her.
No, she's too unlikable.
I think that's gonna. I think once again the jury house are gonna realize. Oh, Angela played the best game.
She hasn't though.
She's played the meanest game.
The meanest game, yeah. But I'm gonna say the people in the diary house, not the diary house, the jury house.
Look, just think.
How is he on Big Brothers and I'm not?
There was like a couple of weeks where Angela was really playing, but it's been a long time. It's been like 5 weeks since she's been involved in anything, even decisions. She's not even trying to get anybody else. I'd pick Sam over Angela right now. I think Sam's been more involved.
I'd pick Robot Sam.
No. Robot Sam was the best.
That was when people still liked her. Before
Yeah,
she
we
went
all loved her the first. Well, I like her now even more because I see she's mentally deranged.
It's more likable than the calling all the girls in the house whores.
Oh, that was a dark moment.
I understood where she was coming from. I'm also from the hill country, as I like to say.
I've nominated the sluts.
I'm here to slut shame. That's my game. Earl, who you picking in Big Brother?
Angela.
Shocker.
Wow, we're on the same team. It's crazy.
The two jinxes are together.
Is Earl a jinx as well?
No. Earl's never. Earl's went down to Atlantic City with $5 and come out of there with $115,000.
Whoa!
Let it ride the whole time. Ride, 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 let it ride. She passed out.
She's totally knocked out.
She's had a long day of travel, though, right?
She doesn't do much, though.
Yeah. I had to tell her today, even though it's 9/11, everything's okay.
Yeah.
That
She's
happened
like,
a long
never forget
time ago.
What? I'll tell you about it when you're older.
When you're much older. Well, I was at the Sour last night, and all young New Yorkers, and none of them even lived here when it happened.
Yeah.
Just late in life millennials coming to the city.
Yeah, I was with some moms at a mom class this morning, and they were all just like new New Yorkers. So it's just like either their first, second, or third time even being here on September 11th. So I couldn't even talk to them about it because it's too weird.
Yeah, there's no sense in bringing it up.
My friend just moved to California.
Oh, great. You got to go out and see him.
Grew up in New York his whole life. And he was texting me today, like, why'd they stop putting the 9/11 tribute on TV? And I was like, because you're not in New York. Or the
It's a local story, dude.
Yeah. He was like freaking out.
Are they saying even Good Morning America didn't cover it and all those kind of shows?
Because I know here it's usually like Fox 5 and New York 1 that does the...
It's all of them.
Oh, I've only seen it on Fox 5.
No.
Like,
it goes around for... I mean, the Fox 5 people don't come in that day. But it's all the stations have always covered it. And I figure in 3 years, when it's 20, they're really going to go big. Earl, you were saying, and I was with her on 9/11. He goes, I don't even know what side I'm on.
What?
I go, yeah.
Wait a minute.
He brought up because of racial prejudice. You said
no.
He said to me, "No Saudi Arabia ever called me." And I go, "Look, Earl, let me just get through this. The towers fell 5 minutes ago. I don't want to bring it back into racism."
Don't recall that conversation at all.
There's a lot of things you don't recall when you're drinking. I always say this when I see Earl when he's drunk. I go, "Looks like Lincoln has been drinking." I call him Boozy Susie once he starts really getting drunk.
That one I like.
Yeah.
That's
He
good.
goes, "Old Boozy Susie's going to have her little drinky drink." And I go, "Earl, please." And he'll go say, "My name's Earl, not Early. I'm staying till I close this place." He loves to stay out. He loves to get fucked up. Now, that we'll always have that bond of being together, I think. And I always remember this because we stayed on the air till like 2 in the morning or something like that. And when we came back, we were the only people standing on 57th.
Yeah, I just remember the light. You could hear the lights change.
You could hear the clicking of the light.
It was so strange. It was such an eerie feeling.
There was nobody on Broadway and there was nobody on 57th. It was like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And we were walking down the street, me, Gail, and Fez, down to where our train stop was. And there was a cop crying and another cop was like consoling him. And I'm like, when did women become cops? We didn't say that at all, but we were just like, well, it couldn't even sink in. It could not sink in.
Just that eerie, quiet.
Yeah.
Just hearing you, just everything. Your senses were alive, but it was for all the wrong reasons.
And I remember, and it wasn't that night. It might have been because that feeling lasted for a long time. You know, that feeling lasted for a real long time. But I remember me and Fez were going over the. I keep thinking that girl's Jen. It's my own problem with it. But me and Fez were going over the 57th Street Bridge, just so exhausted because. Like all day you were dealing. It was like being at a funeral, but it went on for months. And we're looking at the skyline and there's smoke where the towers used to be. And Fez says, and I mean as serious can be, "Well, congratulations, Rudy, you lost the fucking towers." And I was just laying there going like this. I'm laying with my head in the back of the cab going like this. It's not like he had a defense system set up. But it was really so fucking funny to me that like even sometimes I'll be just driving along and I'll think, God, that's a funny thing to say. Somebody has to take the shit. And then I remember, Earl, that when the other people came back, like the other people that couldn't come in, like Al Dukes and all that we'd always treated them differently. The people who
they didn't show
here.
up.
Yeah, they didn't make it through. It's almost like they were firefighters who fell asleep and didn't answer the call.
I feel like we all had a special bond that day.
Yeah, we still do. I always feel very close to all the people that were together. And then I made so many, well, that's when I became buddies with Hard Rock Johnny and Gorilla Bob. The list goes on and on and on. So many people I met after that because everybody was really trying to connect with each other after 9/11. And now today with the internet and the Snapchat and the Thrillist.com, these kids, they spend all day on Thrillist.com. Hey, yeah, just the other day, this millennial, this Vito says to me, "Hey, Ron, you want to find out the 9 great places where we can get mini pizzas?" And I go, no, 9/11's coming up. That's what we should be focusing on.
Generation listicle.
Yeah, they do like the list. Also, he had me take a BuzzFeed quiz the other day to figure out what house on Harry Potter I'd go into.
What'd you get?
Slytherin.
And then you're like, this is bullshit. There's no way I'm Slytherin. Taking it again.
Yeah.
I knew I should have said Hot Fudge Sundae.
That is true. I actually, a lot of times, I'll even go like, this is the thing I want to be thought of, not the thing that I actually do.
I'm Gryffindor.
So I'll go like this, fruits and vegetables, because that's my plan. Hey, Tony, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, cuz? I remember listening to you guys back in NEW that night. I was living in East Village when it was the East Village.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say, it's never good for me this week, but with hearing just Juliet's voice, hearing that baby cry, it just changes the world. Yeah. Knowing that it's beautiful tomorrow. It's beautiful in the next 5 minutes. So it was great to meet her. Again, Gail, congratulations. And you guys have been a big part of my life, and it's great to see that Bennington seed is just going even further. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, buddy. It is really funny that children do make you a little less cynical and a little more hopeful about stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It has to be.
Yeah. That you, and then, I knew I would feel that way, but it's weird what an effect she has on everyone around her, her family, on both sides. And people are like, we're going to be okay. We've got this baby now. That's going to be good.
Well, there's just something about it that seems more optimistic than not.
Yeah. It makes it worth it. Yeah.
In a weird way. And that's why when I look at Chris, and he's always telling me how empty his life is and how he doesn't see the future, I'm like, yeah, no wonder.
There's no babies in my life.
Does this make you want? Does this make you want a baby? Kind of.
Hey,
I still don't want a baby.
I know that you were out yesterday, didn't hear the show, but Chris admitted to. You know what? I'm gonna bring that up later about him because there was something that he did early on with this new girlfriend that you probably don't want anybody to know yet, right?
Yeah, not yet. No.
Let's just say this. Chris may not have been as loyal as we think in the early days of this.
Oh, no.
Let's just say that Chris may have Russian hands and Roman fingers. Now they're saying 20 million people in the impact zone of that storm.
When is it supposed to hit?
Any minute now. Probably in the next 3 to 4 minutes.
Morning time.
Yeah. And then the weather service went there. And I think this is the worst idea I've ever heard in a hurricane. They said that they're going to drop tons of nails into it to see what happens with those nails.
Terrible.
Yeah. I think those nails are going to go into boards. I can see Vito as a storm chaser.
Yeah, just like the movie Twister.
Oh, what am I talking about? I mean, I could see Vito as a fucking hamburger chaser.
That sounds much more fun and simple.
You're like the cow that got stuck in the twister.
That cow was a fucking ridiculous idiot. What was the better Twister? In Twister or the Wizard of Oz?
The Wizard of Oz had more effects in it. Like there was like the witch, there was the house.
The witch isn't an effect.
Well, I mean, it was part of the things that she saw. But Twister did have that cow. And I think if you go to Universal Studios now.
Nope.
What?
Twister's gone.
Really?
Yeah.
They did away with Twister?
It's an old movie.
Classic.
Yeah. Right now, the movie that you go and kind of experience is Black Klansman. Scary. It's really scary. Earl, have you seen it yet?
Yeah.
Did you love it?
It needed a splice job. I thought it could have trimmed a couple of minutes down.
Interesting.
Earl thinks he's a better editor than Spike Lee.
I loved it, and it was actually Juliet's first movie.
Aw.
Nice.
Black Klansman. She'll always remember.
Earl, what do you see yourself more as? A Black Klansman or Black Panther?
Black Panther.
You look like that guy. I thought I saw Earl walking down the hall. It was common.
Academy Award winner coming.
I actually said this as I was walking by him. I go like this. You want to sleep with common people? You want to sleep with common people like me?
Because I'm literally common.
All right. Now they're saying that Twister is sucking up seashells on the beach. Now, the weird thing is, and I saw this on updates where the girl that was in the house, Angela, said, "What's today's date?" She goes, "Literally 1 year ago today, I was evacuating Hilton Head."
Oh.
It was 1 year ago that they had to evacuate, and
Oh,
1 year
yeah.
after they have to evacuate.
Weird.
And we got to get used to the superstorms. Do you know that there wasn't one single hurricane during the Obama administration? Isn't that crazy?
He's good.
Christopher, we got a break here?
Yes, we do.
It is 17. Where are you going? Why? Gail, you want to do one from old time's sake, or you get fired?
I might get fired. Or maybe Chris will be fired for handing it to me.
All right, Chris did hand this to you.
What?
Here's what's great for you, Gail, because you know how, like, if you go out and you leave the baby at the house, right?
What?
Well, you could have a way to keep an eye. Like, you could go out for a day at a time and not even go back and not worry about anybody breaking in, because Ring's mission is to make neighborhoods safer. Today, over 1 million people use the amazing Ring video doorbell to help protect their homes. Ring knows home security begins at the front door, but it doesn't end there. So now they're extending that same level of security to the rest of your home with the Ring Floodlight Cam. Just like Ring's amazing doorbell, Floodlight Cam is a motion-activated camera and floodlight that connects right to your phone with HD video and two-way audio that lets you know the moment anyone steps on your property. See and speak to visitors, even set off an alarm right from your phone. With Ring's Floodlight Cam, when things go bump in the night, you'll immediately know what it is. Whether you're home or away, the Ring Floodlight Cam lets you keep an eye on your home from anywhere. Ring Floodlight offers the ultimate in home security with high visibility floodlights and a powerful HD camera that puts security in your hand. With Ring, you're always home. Save up to $150 off a Ring of Security kit when you go to ring.com/comedy. Ring.com/comedy. That's ring.com/comedy.
You're listening to Bennington.
It is 9/11, 17 years later. And thanks to everybody who called in here today as we tried to fix the country. And I don't even know whether the point is to fix it or just have the intentions to fix it. I know Earl sees everything as race. We've already made that point. Gail sees everything as misogynistic, and I see everything as just perfect. The way God, a white man himself, intended it, we're all of us are here together. But in all honesty, all kidding aside, you do think that most people are somewhat hopeful about the future. I mean, what else is there to be? And when people are saying to me, oh, these are the worst times that ever existed. I don't know. I mean, there were some people that were around with this Civil War when actually millions and millions of people killed each other in this country. And Earl, as you know, the best thing that ever happened when the white man freed the slaves.
Think black people had something to do with it?
You're welcome. What's that? What did black people have to do with it? Be the slaves?
Yeah, we fought in the Civil War.
Oh, that's right. I did see that. It was a good movie. That movie choked you up a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, the whipping scene always kills me.
But, during 9/11, and that, like I said, 17 years ago, I only had one thing on my mind, and that was like to get the kids. There wasn't a single other thought, and everybody else was feeling the same way. And the weirdest thing, I think, for me, when the war started and there was all that kind of pro-war stuff happening in this country at the time, and the first night that we attacked Baghdad, all I thought about is like somebody's running for their kids right now. Somebody's making sure that their kids are okay on the other side of the world. And really there was that was probably like the first time in my life that I would ever have had that thought. And I remember when I went to Gail's school to get her, and for whatever reason you just like, oh good, there she is. But I remember, and I don't know if you remember this, Gail, I said to you, I go, where's Juliet? And you're like, dude, that's like 17 years away. Because I guess I had kind of fallen loose through time.
Now I get it.
Yeah, now you get what I was talking about. Because I was coming to you from the future. And now look at you. Do you feel like you're optimistic about the future, Gail?
I'm scared. I think I'm nervous and like
more scared than you were before you had a baby.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was pregnant and I was thinking about having a little girl in this world, it's scary. I mean, it's scary now, but it's also always been scary to have a little girl in the world.
Sure.
So
it's never been a positive thing, particularly when there was a Mongol nation riding on horseback to conquer whatever they possibly could. And I remember when I was younger, I said to my parents, I said, what do you think the main thing that we could do as people and as Americans is? And my parents said to me, I'll never forget this. They said, pollute. We've got to keep polluting as much as we can. But when I was a kid, the number one thing that we were afraid of and that we would have to do in school is that pollution was going to kill us. That was the number one thing. Like, we would be drawing pictures of like the oceans being dead and birds falling out of the sky because that was on our minds all the time. And now, I can't tell you how less polluted the air is.
Well, that's because they educated kids.
Well, it was really more like because we moved industry out of this country. I mean, those 3D machines they don't do much in ways of pollution.
But don't you think that did have an effect? Like, they raised a generation that thinks it's weird to litter. But before then, like, people just like threw shit out of their car window and they didn't even think about it. But now if you see somebody do it, you're like, what are you, a monster? Who would do that?
I still do it.
You do?
I don't want to have trash in my car until I get to a trash can. I like to get it out of my car fast.
What What is this, garbage on four wheels?
And sometimes, like, if I have like an old washing machine, I'll just drive around the country until I see another old washing machine rusting somewhere next to the road. And I go, so this is where they throw the old washing machines. They also, I mean, the reason... Oh, is that the Advil after an hour? Thank you, Vito. What, do you not have enough for everybody?
No, I was told by somebody.
Who's somebody, Chris?
Yeah.
Why would you ever listen to him? When Chris tells you something, go back and find out what should be done. Chris, what's that like to just...
I don't know. It's miscommunication.
How is it
assumptions.
miscommunication? It's literally communication.
Yeah.
Only you're saying something you have no idea about. Miscommunication would be if you tried to say it, but your jaw wasn't working properly.
That I can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
I have missed that look, though, that Vito gives Chris when he's been...
Daggers.
Yeah, when he's given him bad information. And then he's always like, I was told by someone. And it's like only one other person on the team.
Why don't you just say, Chris?
I'm not a rat, but there's someone in this room who gave me the wrong information.
And I'm looking at him with my eyes.
And I will make him pay.
The only time those two are happy is when they're eating my M&M presents. And then Dr. Steve gave a bunch of chocolates from France.
Mm-hmm.
And I go like this. No one's getting these. I took them, put them in a bag, and was on my way in the cab home. I just chucked them out the window.
No!
Yeah, I did. Because I'd rather that than leave them here for you guys to enjoy.
I sort of understand that, but still.
You should understand it. Because if there was a well to poison, I'd do that. I'd poison your drinking water. What are you going to eat tonight for 9/11 dinner?
I wish I could remember what we ate on 9/11, but I don't think we ate.
I remember...
Did we eat food? I mean, we were here for so long. I have no memory of us eating food.
I remember Jeremy, because everybody was going to be staying at the station, put out a really hideous, like, ham and cheese plate that we were supposed to make sandwiches at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no one ate it.
It is weird, though, the specific things that you'll remember from that day, but then that I don't remember. Like, that's something I just...
I don't remember eating. Do you, Earl?
No, not at all.
It's really weird, and we must have, like, we were there for a long time.
It's not like we could have ordered out food anywhere either.
I know. Really strange. But I have this, like, really specific memory that's weird. I think of it every 9/11. It's like I was sitting in the studio and I was like all cried out and just like at that point of just like exhaustion and like shock. And I looked down and I was wearing Chuck Taylors. I was in high school. And I was wearing one red one and one blue one. Because I thought that was cool and unique thing to do. And I remember looking down and being like, one day this is going to seem so weird that I was young and childish enough to wear two different sneakers on 9/11. Like, and I think of that all the time, that I was like, it was like a literal loss of innocence. We're like, what a silly thing to do is to be like young and silly enough to be like, this is my unique style, you know? And it just was like such a weird moment. And I think of it every time because I remember like speaking to my future self. Like, this was you in this time. This was the before moment when you felt, you know, kind of young and creative and silly. And who will you be later?
I remember what I was wearing that day too. I had a full tuxedo because I was at a party.
Early party?
Yeah, well, I'm the wolf. And what I do, right, is have very elegant parties until I have to dispose of. No, but that's very weird that you remember that. And by the way, I think when people talk about that was America's loss of innocence, in a sense, I was like, when was that return of innocence then? You know what I mean? Because at some point, I kind of feel like we are at the same place as we were right before it happened.
That's true. You do you must be trying to get it back. And, that kind of trauma in life stunts people, right? Like if it was a personal trauma, it could stunt you at that point, and you would be trying to act out by being youthful, and maybe that's what we're doing as a culture. As a culture, we're childlike
or stupid, But that's the only time I think I've ever been where there was shared trauma.
Yeah,
in my life, I've experienced when there's been a shared sadness for, America.
That's a good point.
But I don't think I ever remembered shared trauma where you would see people. And people after 9/11, even a cab driver would be like, you okay? And you'd be like, yeah, I'm okay. How about you? Oh, I'm okay. You know what I mean? You just have those things where you checked with people, with strangers, like you knew them. Sometimes you would come up and see somebody having a hard time and you just spend a moment with them. And the odd thing is that you can miss that kind of connection. Particularly now when we live in a time where people are just ripping each other all the time.
A couple weeks after 9/11, there was a building. It was just like a regular old apartment building, like a pre-war. And the facade of the building crumbled. It completely just fell off.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And exposed it. It looked like a dollhouse. It was really weird. And I was on my way to school, and I turned the corner, and I see just a building torn apart, rubble all over the street, lights going, and I just froze. And all of a sudden, I felt on my hand, on my shoulder. It was a fireman who worked right there at the corner across from my school. And he's like, it's okay. It was just this thing. And he just starts to explain to me. But I hadn't said anything or screamed. He just saw me look like, what the fuck is this now? And he stood there and did that 10 more times as I was watching, them do the cleanup, reassuring another woman who came around the corner, reassuring a family, reassuring a guy on a bike. And he just had to stand there and tell people, don't worry, it's not what you think it is. You turn a corner and you see this thing, but we haven't been bombed. This is just a regular weird thing. Everyone's okay. Everyone's safe.
Yeah. Well, I think the one of the strangest things on 9/11 is that it stopped. You know what I mean? No one once the second tower's hit. Oh, the one tower went down. Oh, a second tower went down. Oh, we're just hearing this. They hit the Pentagon. Oh, they're saying a plane went down in Pennsylvania. And you're just like, okay, this is what it's like to be in a war. This is World War III.
Yeah.
And then it just stopped.
Yeah, even on the way to your studio, there was this feeling on the street, everyone was quiet and looking up.
Right.
Because even at that point, we were sure maybe it could be done, but it felt like what next? Everything felt like what next? Even though it was the no-fly zone had already been issued and everything. So, but it just felt weird. It felt like you couldn't predict anything because it was beyond logic that we had known beforehand.
Here's the other really strange, kind of Vonnegut line, is that you went to school with those days on this street, right? And I came out of this subway station right next to us, the same subway station that we use every day, all of us, down 48th Street past Fox News, where the thing was going by that says America under attack, where I literally felt like I was in a movie. And this is the building that me and you work in now.
Yeah.
Isn't that so weird?
It's really, really bizarre.
And I had to cross Times Square, and all the video there, all the screens were of the falling towers and stuff like that, and America under attack. And a jet fighter goes right over top of us, and everybody's looking up at it. And somebody else, oh, it's one of ours. And I'm like, this is the kind of shit that you hear. And people were getting out of that area, but I'm fighting the humanity to get to your school. Like all this stuff reminds you of every movie. Like it's so weird that you could be so in the moment and so disconnected enough to think, oh, this is like a movie.
And you're right. Like it is weird when you're in the same physical space where you have memories.
Yes.
Because it is like being unstuck from time. Like you stood in this place, this thing happened.
Yeah.
You had good moments here. You had bad moments here. You had
No,
youth
just
here.
bad moments. There hasn't really been a good day here. That's the real weird thing about it.
That's the truth of 48th Street. Never a good day.
Never a good day on 48. If we ever do a TV show, we'll have to call it 48th. 48th and 6th.
The deuce.
And look, turn around there. Here's the weirdest thing of all. I look different. You look different. Earl looks exactly the same.
Yeah, Earl is the same. I think he's wearing the same clothes.
Yes, he is. He's Blackula.
He hasn't
does not age.
Aged a day.
Black don't crack.
What do you mean by that? Black smokes crack. What's that mean?
I didn't say smoke.
That sounds racist. I don't know if I can say that to you, but it does.
And you will back me up on this. Fez did not have a shaky moment through that whole thing. For a guy who had as many anxious moments as he's had in his life, during those traumatic events, he was as steady
Yeah, you're right.
as a Marine colonel.
I don't remember him looking too scared to be.
He never
young.
said what's going to happen to us, what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
He literally just came in and did his job every single day. It's really strange how things work. Be the time for the signal, if nothing else. There you go. Isn't that odd, though? Maybe the oddest thing of all. I always remember this, too. The amount of calls that we had. I could never go back and listen to them. I think even one year we played that show or some of those shows on here. I think Jeremy Coleman had it. But I couldn't go back and listen. I'm sure I just would have been too weirded out.
I've thought about it. I've thought about going back and listening to that show, but I don't think I could. I think it would be really difficult. I wonder if there will be a time in my life that I'll go, man, I should relive that memory. But
I don't
feel
think there
like
ever will be.
I can do it.
Well, that's how I feel when people say that they're going to the 9/11 museum. And then I'm like, what? What are you talking about? You want to see that right now?
Yeah, I don't think that there's ever a mood I've been in that's just like, it's a 9/11 museum day.
Yeah. Well, there was a thing in the New York Daily News the other day that said, people, it's time to stop smiling in selfies in front of the 9/11 museum.
Yeah.
And they would just show people like, yeah.
Oh, God, that's really weird.
People are weird.
We're not ready to treat that like it's as distant as an ancient war.
One of the famous politicians went out today in Pennsylvania to that field, and there was people there, and he was pounding the two thumbs up. Like,
was it Trump?
I don't want to say who it was, just because I don't want to be divisive.
Okay.
But there's a new book out called Fear. 1 million copies sold. No, it doesn't matter. But and I think Giuliani was back here in New York today.
Yeah.
He never comes back.
I saw him this morning. Yeah.
And he said he wanted to make sure that any of the first responders who had gotten cancer had already died, and then he would feel safe to come back. He goes, now I can come back. Here's the thing because remember there was, and by the way, we were back on the air that night, a week before David Letterman, a week before Jon Stewart, we were like everybody, I forget, the sports guys were the morning show, And then the afternoon show.
Was it Radio Chick?
Yeah, probably the Radio Chick then. No, Donna Mike.
Yes,
it was Donna Mike, then O&A, and then us. I think the Radio Chick had already left.
Yeah, it was something. I know. I think because I was because I.
You were the junior fire marshal for us. If anything happened, he would be the one who made sure we lined up. And he actually came to me and said that he had binoculars and he'd be looking at the night sky to make sure that we were safe.
That's why I felt safer at the studio than I did at school. I was like, I need to be with the fire marshal.
There was, in the weeks and weeks and weeks that followed, so many people who thought they could be helpful by writing a song or a poem. And we used to just let them do it when they called in because we weren't even taking commercial breaks.
Right.
Nothing. They'd stop commercials for like well over a week. Maybe it was 2 weeks.
I think it was 2 weeks.
That no one on radio was running commercials. But for some reason, the poems really got to me the most because they would always be like, who will forget where we were that day? And, it would always be the same thing. And the only thing that would make us even slightly smile is that I will always write down on a piece of paper and I would put up in front of Earl while somebody would be reading their poem, what rhymes with cunt? And then he would start church laughing. You know what I mean?
Crawled under the console.
I know. And they would stop and I would always go like this. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Earl was laughing about your poem.
It was the only moment of like sanity, I guess. It was like normalcy.
Then this is the other thing. Because he was from the suburbs, Billy Staples brought in his flag from home and hung it up in our window.
Helpful.
Yeah. And then he immediately said he wanted to beat up Bill Maher or some whatever liberal made him upset by saying something, It was a very, very strange time. And then I remember when football came back and I'm watching it and just all the American flags were going. And like, this is a war thing? Didn't even dawn on me that we'd be going off to war. And the fact that war hasn't ended. That's the way we started the show today. What is going on? Let's end this one. The way we ended every show after that. I think the first night we played something different. I think we played 40 to end the first night show by U2. But this song had come out right before 9/11, and it's really hard to believe that it wasn't written for that, There was literally a lot of music that came out right before 9/11 that reminded me so much of like it was written after. So Gail, Earl, and we'll throw this out to Fez, Billy Staples, and the Hawk. 17 years after. Here's U2. Take care of yourself, everybody.